If you're able to, please mind your coffee. I'm going to invite you to stand up. How are we doing? Those who want to stand are standing. Okay. So I'm going to give you some statements. So this applies to you. Sit down. So if you have been in the position recently, couple weeks, couple months, wherever you want to frame recently, where you have had a conversation with a colleague or with your boss, and you have left knowing that you were not heard and understood. You might have been heard, you might not have been understood. Have a seat if that applies to you. All right, you've got some good listeners here at SAIT. If you have recently, again, couple weeks, couple months, felt that you were not recognized for a job that you felt you did really well at, have a seat. Couple more. If you have heard that little voice in the back of your head say recently, are you sure you should be here? Are you really good enough for this role? Are you sure you're getting your job right? If that little voice has spoken to you in the last couple of weeks, couple of months, have a seat. Well, there was a little sigh there. If you have directed a child, a colleague, a friend, or somebody with the words you should, you must, you ought to, you always, have a seat. With a few shouldas in the room. Oh, that cleared the room just like that. Okay. Which is good, because my last one was if you've sat in a meeting that was a complete waste of your time. But obviously we're okay. We don't need to go there. So we're talking today about everyday leadership. Those are some examples. We face a lack of leadership quite often. We face leadership more than we actually know. I'm going to ask you a quick question here. Does anybody know who Carol Spinney is? Who is Carol Spinney? Yes, but I'm going to throw this at you. Are you okay with that? God almighty. Oh, yes, you did. Okay. All right. So today, in recognition, Carol Spinney retired last week. That's why I know who he is. Leadership is brought to you by the letter C and the number 3, and me too. I'm going to add to this. So we're going to talk today about clarity, control, and cake. 3 C's, 3 scenarios, and lots of tips that will help you. So whether you showed up today as a leader of people, as a parent, leader of children, or perhaps, for a lot of us, most importantly, as a leader of yourself, we'll aim to have something for you today. Those of you who know me well know I'm not doing this by myself, so I do need a volunteer. Before you jump up and say, yes, me, there's a couple of things that you need to know. If you are going to volunteer, there might be some headwear involved. Okay? Oh, he's looking excited. You also need to be able to throw a ball and catch a ball. And you also need to light cake. Is there anybody who's willing to volunteer? Please. Come on. Okay. Come on up here. The unicorn? Okay, you can't put it on just yet. Hold on to it for a second. All right, so here is scenario number 1. What's your name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie. Okay, so Stephanie is my employee, and I am the leader. This is how we're going to run through this. Stephanie, if you get tired, there's a chair behind you. You can pull it up and have a seat, okay? First of all, before we go any further, what we know in leadership, in communication, in conversation, there's a ton of stuff going on in here. Susan, would you be kind enough to write for me? We need to hear from you guys, because I don't want to pick on Stephanie. Okay, she can keep what's in her head to her. But what might be going on in her head? Let's hear what's going on in your head. What's she thinking at the moment? What's buzzing through her head?
What are you going to ask her?
Okay, what questions are coming up? What else?
What did I do?
Okay, what did I do? Yes, it's a performance conversation, isn't it? You know that we need to talk. Uh-oh. Oh, sorry, another one?
What kind of cake is it?
Oh, what kind of cake is it? Yep, cake.
Very important.
Cake. Yeah, you can add dinner there too. And what else? Keep them coming, keep them coming. There's lots of stuff swimming in there. Yeah.
What am I going to say?
Okay, what am I going to say? Yeah, how am I going to handle this? What else?
What's for dinner?
What's for dinner? Always. Yes, and? Anything else? It's a quiet day in there. Yeah.
Just what's happening.
Okay, what's happening? And we can add anxiety, and we can add life, and we can add dinner. There's another one at the back. No, really? Okay, how silly am I going to look? All right, anything else? Okay, we'll keep it there. But you all know when we enter those conversations, when we enter any conversation, we've got the piece about the conversation and everything else. So now you can pop the unicorn on. And the unicorn represents, at any time, we're going to remember that's going on in her head. Okay, so let's start. Clarity. We're talking about a performance management conversation, but we're talking about conversations in general as well. And we all know that when we come to work in the morning, or when we turn up at any conversation, we want to communicate effectively. Okay? How many times have we said, yes, and I will need A, B, and C? And without fail, they give you X, Y, and Z with a big smile on their face. Yes, I'm done. You're like, I asked for A, B, and C. I gave you X, Y, and Z. How does that happen? What's going on? So what we want in communication is like a game of catch. Are you ready? All right. So in a great conversation, hang on, where is like a game of catch. So I'm talking, Stephanie's listening. She's talking, I'm listening. And this is the way it would go backwards and forwards. This is ideal. Yes? All right, but Stephanie's got a boss. What's going on for the boss? What am I thinking? All right, I've got a meeting after this. What else is going on? What's for dinner? Damn dinner. All right. And we've got priorities, and we've got deadlines, and we've got a boss as well that's got stuff for us. And often this very simple conversation actually looks like, oh goodness, yeah, looks like this. How you doing? All right, you can just leave it. It's okay, we can leave it there. So this is a big problem. And it's not only the stuff that's going backwards and forwards between us, but it's also the differences between us as well. Stephanie, where'd you grow up? Penticton. Okay, so Penticton, BC? Yep. They grew up in England. All right. So I would say, as Stephanie's boss, and I've got this, this, and this done, and can we have it done in a fortnight? And Stephanie would give me the bog standard feedback message, which looks like this. You ready? Okay. Okay. And it's happened to me numerous times. People smile and they say yes. How long is a fortnight?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes, but you only know that if you watch British crime on Netflix or you've read Harry Potter. For me, I've been using that word since I was 2. And goodness knows what the language from Penticton sounds like when it's coming back at it again. So we have lots and lots of difficulty in communication. We know what we want it to look like, but we have so much interrupting us. In the workplace, clarity in communication is all about simplicity. Now, it doesn't mean making it simple or dumbing it down. It means getting it down to the core message. So Dr. Damien Hughes talks about talking as if you were tweeting. So now it's your job, with the person next to you, behind you, beside you, in front of you, wherever. Oh, Stephanie, see, Stephanie's head's busy. You're going to finish this tweet. So you have there about 40 characters, which in the old days meant you had 100 left. And I think nowadays they've allowed us to talk a little bit more. I think you get 200 more now. So turn to the person next to you. How would you finish that tweet? You've got 2 minutes to do that. All right, let's pause those tweets. I should ring my bell. There you go. Okay, we're just a couple of people. Anybody willing to share their tweet? Please remember your audience, and we're being filmed. Anybody willing to share their tweet? Oh, go ahead.
Today's going to be a good day because I have no meetings this afternoon.
Hallelujah. I'm going to throw this at you, okay? Are you ready? Oh, thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Today is going to be a good day because we're celebrating student award recipients. #SAIT Gives.
Love it. I might even have that on camera too. We'll see. All right, one more. I got one more ball in my hand. Anybody else? Yes.
It is going to be a good day because after work I'm going to meet a friend for a patio and a beer.
Love it. All right, here you go. Oh, there we go. Be on the floor if you didn't have it. Here's my answer. Today's going to be a good day because it'll make a good day. It's my choice. That's a whole nother course we run. It's called Mental Toughness. Come and join us one day. But clarity, down to the core message. It's not tricky. It is tricky for those of us who can get one sentence into 14 paragraphs. We know a few of those, yes. But if we get down to the core message, people have a greater chance of understanding us. Stephanie, I'm going to borrow you one more time, if I may. Well, actually, I'm going to borrow you about 3 more times, but one more right now. Because how much we say is also crucial. Stephanie's head, whirlwind. Okay, life, dinner, patios, meetings, whatever else is going on. My head, whirlwind, all of that stuff as well. If I throw her one piece of information, she can catch that ball. If I throw her 2 pieces of information, are you ready? Yeah. Okay. She might, oh, okay. She might get them. If I throw her 3, she's still got 1. All right, you did good, Stephanie. Thank you. Okay, stay here for a second if you would. So, core message, and how much are you trying to give people at one time? All 3 of my kids, you probably saw from the PowerPoint, play competitive sport. The number of coaches that I see at the beginning of a session that stand there and go, blah, 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 blah. They lost the kids after the first one. One thing at a time if you can. If you can't, you need a way to get them to retain that information. Okay, there's clarity. Let's move on to control. So we're in a performance management conversation. In this situation, I am the leader. Stephanie is my employee. Who does most of the talking regularly? The leader, me. Yes, okay. Whose job are we talking about? Stephanie's, yes. Who was closest to the issue when it happened? Stephanie was, yes. Whose career is this? Who knows most about it? Yeah, why am I talking? Really? Why am I talking? Stephanie, if you want, you can have a seat, but I will get you back in a minute. So controlling a conversation as a leader is crucial. Why do I do most of the talking? What's going on? The reason is because if I'm talking, I'm in control. If I'm talking, you can't disagree with me. If I'm talking, you can't ask me any questions. And if I'm talking, the stage is mine. Which is why we hear people say the same thing 5 times over. By the 3rd time, you're like, yes, I got it. And they're still going. So controlling the conversation as a leader is crucial. Mark Goulston put it beautifully and said, be interested rather than interesting. Because when we're interested, a whole world of information opens up. When I'm interested, I find out more about the people I work with. When I'm interested, I find out more about the issue that perhaps I didn't know, because I would never see it from my perspective. And when I'm interested, I give control of the conversation over to who it really belongs to in that situation. Contemplate it for a second. If you're a leader of people, when was the last time you asked an employee for their opinion? Like really asked them what they thought about it. If you're a parent, when was the last time you asked your teenager how that drama in their life was really affecting them? You'd be surprised at the answers. And it's okay to be interested in yourself as well. What is going on for me right here, right now? So controlling the conversation, think about who's doing the talking. Is it my turn? Does it need to be me? And we promised cake. Come on up, Stephanie. So I'm going to introduce you to a term. I think it was Margaret Heffernan who brought this term sort of to the corporate world, and that is a term that she uses called social capital. Now, social capital is all about me building a relationship with Stephanie. It's about me getting to know what's going on in that unicorn piece, what's going on in Stephanie's life. Social capital is a bit of a blah, 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 big word. And the Swedes have a beautiful term for it. The Swedes call it fika. Now, fika, roughly translated, is collective restoration. I like the better term, coffee and cake. And if you go to IKEA, there's actually a recipe book called fika, and there's all cake recipes in there. But what happens in Sweden is, bless you, 20 minutes, twice a day, we'll go for coffee and cake. What happens when we have those conversations that are away from the workplace, when we're just hanging out, coffee and cake? We're getting to know each other. We're building relationships. We're building trust. We're building reciprocity. And when we have those, our performance management conversations, or our difficult conversations, or our vibrant conversations begin to change. Because you're more than just Stephanie. You're Stephanie the unicorn. You become that whole person. And when I know that person, the conversation changes. In any company, and SAIT, we have it. We have policies, we have procedures, we have values, we have mission, we have a vision, we have all that stuff. That's the bricks to the company. Good company. But the great companies have built the mortar in between the bricks. And the mortar in between those bricks comes from the relationships that are built on their teams. The relationships where leaders get to know their people. The people get to know each other. And that's where we build it from. So, Stephanie, we have for you, courtesy, Susan, a little cake for you. Thank you for being my unicorn for today. There you go. All of Stephanie's friends team up with her. All right, so we will move on to our second scenario, just about you. Clarity, control, and cake, just for you. Let's start with clarity. Here's a picture that my dad took, hopefully. There we go. Lake O'Hara. Now, it's a nice view. It looks kind of cool. We like that. But look at the water. Just a little bit choppy. Think of your mind. Is it just a little bit choppy? There's my unicorn's mind. Just a little bit choppy. There's lots of stuff going on. It's nice. It's a great view, and we do okay. But our mind, if it's like that water, is disrupted. Here's the same lake. It is a slightly different angle. This is the same lake. Check out the water there. There's a clarity, and there's a calmness in there that most of us strive for. In fact, I meet people every week who would long just to have that back. Meditation, mindfulness, they're like the kale of today. Everybody's talking about it. Some people are trying it. Not everybody's trying it. What we know is that for meditation and mindfulness, you don't have to sit in a very strange position. Okay? That bit's optional. You don't have to dress up funny. You don't have to pay a subscription. We do know, though, research is showing it time and time again, that when we stop to breathe, we get some of this back again. Let's just try it for a second. Now, I have to be careful. I have a little microphone on for Grant here, and if I do a big breath, he's going to get an earful of it. But in a moment, I'm going to give you the opportunity to take 2 deep breaths. Now, please bear in mind, a deep breath is not this. Okay? It is really a deep breath. Just 2. As you take those 2 breaths, what's going on in your head? What's going on in your body? Okay? When you're ready, go for it. 2 deep breaths. Okay, what do we notice? What happens in our minds when we take a deep breath? Anybody have an insight for us? Quiet? All right, we will always... I'm going to pass it. It's okay. It's okay. Yes. So I think I heard the word calm. Yes? We're wired to think. We will always think. This is one of the things that puts people off meditation. How am I ever going to stop thinking? You won't. Okay? We're wired. We're made to think. But when we stop and breathe, we just slow it down a little bit. We calm it down a little bit. Okay, anybody else? In your mind, in your body, what did we notice? Yes, on the end. Okay, it brings you back to the center. Are you okay if I throw? There we go. One more.
It was more focused on what was happening at the moment.
Yes, it's amazing what happens when we can get present in the moment, because as adults, we spend a lot of our time worrying about the past and worrying about the future. Regretting the past, worrying about the future, whatever. Yes, you're right. It brings us to the present, absolutely. There's a space between the noise in your head and the noise in your world. It is very, very healthy for clarity for us to listen to that space, ideally twice a day. It's not difficult. 2 minutes, sit down and breathe, just like you did. Some pretty cool things happen when we make time, 2 minutes, for that piece. Number 1, we begin to see the purpose. We can focus on the purpose because we've got the calm and the clarity to recognize the purpose. Number 2, we start to pick up the important cues. You will find yourself listening to understand, which is really, really different than listening to reply, listening to force an opinion, listening to prove somebody wrong. It's a different world when we've got that calmness and that clarity. And perhaps most importantly, you become very familiar with what I call your inner critic. Now, your inner critic sits in the back of your head. It's a little voice, and it squawks at you all day long. You should have done this. You should have done that. You suck at this. Yeah, you're not bad at this. You're looking okay. You're not looking great today, not telling the truth there. But that's what that inner critic does. When we take the time to breathe, the time to find the clarity, we become associated with it, and we get to know it, and we realize that that rhetoric isn't the one that we need to live by. So we dictate our next move. Kind of a cool place to hang out in. What about control for ourselves? This one, super, super simple. Any conversation, any meeting, when you walk in your front door tonight, when you see your spouse, partner, friend later, you decide how you show up. Control the controllables. The only thing that we can control is us. Okay? Only I can control me. I choose what I focus on. I choose what my attitude is. I choose what my mindset is. Where's Stephanie? We could have a, you can say that, it's okay. She's like, oh God, again? We could have a great conversation, or we could have an awful conversation. It would be based on my mindset, maybe, yes. Control the controllables. If we don't, if we lean towards the easy justifications, we end up doing things like blaming, making excuses, and living in denial. We're going to get stuck in every single one of those. If we control the controllables, how I show up in every situation, I'm going to have ownership, accountability, and responsibility for me in that situation. Now I'm focusing on the things that I can control, not wasting energy focusing on what everybody else is doing and losing that piece. Clarity, control. We have to talk about cake for us. Now this has nothing to do with the legislation from last week. It's everything to do with our battery. Now probably if I asked you, everybody in here could tell me where their cell phone battery is at right now. Most of us have a pretty good idea. And lots of us bring a charger or a remote charger to make sure that that battery is okay till the end of the day. Do you know where your personal battery is? Okay, our personal batteries are crucial. And whether they're fully charged or draining in the red makes a difference to how we show up in the situations each day. So I'm going to throw it back over to you for a second. Talk to somebody different. So if you turned to the left last time, turn to the right this time, or backwards or forwards. And what I'd like you to share, please, with the person next to you is 3 things that really energize you during the day. Might be the kind of work you do, might be the person you speak to, might be taking a break, whatever that piece is. 3 things that energize you during the day. Ready, steady, go. 3 things. All right, do we have time for 3? Now I'm going to only give you 1 minute for the second one. Now turn, it can be the same person, or it could be somebody different. Tell them 2 things that sucks the life out of you during the day, drains your battery. You all know what they are. Okay, 1 minute, 2 things. Ready, steady, go. So I'm far more a fan of the things that charge your battery. We need to know what it is that drains our battery. But let's have some examples of what allows us to charge our battery. Anybody, what have we got? Yes.
Oh, I need my coffee first.
All right then. There you go. And what else charges us?
Exercise.
Exercise, yes. That's a research proved one, yes. Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah. What else? Take a walk outside. You've got one already, haven't you? Yes. Take a walk outside. When we connect with nature, we become more creative and innovative. Here's the good news. We live in town, but we've got loads of trees. It's a beautiful campus. Recharge your batteries. One over there in the corner.
Just take time with my cat and dog.
Yes, all right. Are you ready? Yeah? There we go. Oh, sorry. Okay, time with animals. I got time for 1 more as well. Anybody else got 1 more they want to share?
Music.
Music. Yes, there's another research one too. I won't throw that at you from here. All right, so it is really important that we take care of ourselves. If you are a leader of people, if you're a parent, and really, truly, just for yourself, if we're not making sure that our battery is fully charged, there is no way that we can really give or support other people. Okay? So take care of yourself. Your resource there is your energy, and control the controllables. You're in charge of it. Absolutely. We have 1 scenario left to go, 1 more douse of clarity, control, and cake. I want to talk a little bit now about more traditional leadership. So where I am the leader and I have a team of people. We'll start with clarity again because we're on a bit of a roll, and that's what's next on my screen. So clarity, everything that we have talked about so far counts. Your communication, getting down to the core message, simplicity, how much information you give. The clarity in your mindset is crucial when you're working with other people. Clarity is also one of the causes of most conflict in the workplace. And that's because a lot of us don't know our role clarity. Now, it used to be really easy. It used to be that you got to work and you got a job description. And that was your box, and that was your role, and that was what you did. Perfect. Until whoever it was invented that sentence. And any other task deemed necessary, boom, all the role clarity just went out the window, and people are like, oh, so that's my job? Or they started with this job, and 3 months later, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? There's 3 pages extra of job to go on there. There's another problem too with this role clarity, and it's these hairy little things that get in the way. That there, my 10-year-old told me, Mum, that's really scary. Should you have that on there? That's a role assumption. Now, the problem with a leader and an employee is I think I know you're perfectly clear about what your role is. You have your own version of what that role is with all those assumptions in there. I'll make assumptions, and the evil piece with assumptions is we don't talk about those. They stay in here. That's part of that busyness that's going on in there. So please, as a leader, don't presume that your people just get it by their title or by the piece of paper that you gave them 5 years ago with that job description on it. We need to have a conversation around role clarity. What is your role? How's that looking for you? What are the challenges? What support do you need? But there's another piece, and this is really, really important, because it's all very well being clear on what your role is, but do you accept your role? This is crucial, because I might tell you exactly what your role is, but if you don't accept it, you won't be able to perform that role under pressure. And what we know is everybody is working under their own form of pressure. As a society, we have gone crazy. Hundreds of emails in the morning, a day of back-to-back meetings, conversations that start like this, and the list goes on and on and on. So we need clarity. We need to accept it. Then you can perform the role under pressure. This is how simple this is and where it shows up. Unfortunately, just before Christmas, my husband was laid off by our oil and gas friends. So January, I'm quite busy. I come in at the end of the day. What's the first word I hear? Jenny, what's for dinner tonight? I was quite clear on what the roles were here. If you stay at home, you make the dinner. Apparently, we didn't have any acceptance going on in there. Okay? It happens all the time. As leaders, be aware of it. Please don't presume that people just get it. Okay, moving on to control. Control has faced an interesting paradigm shift in probably about the last decade. So this is a timeline down the front here now. This is about the beginning of the 1900s. So here I am in the 1900s. Management was created at the beginning of the 1900s, and that word is important, created. When work looked like this, management were in charge. They were highly educated. They were usually males at this point, and management was created because they needed compliance. It worked when we lived here. Nowadays, as you well know, work doesn't look like that. Work looks like this. Here we are down here in the 2015, 16, 17, 18s. It's a completely different world. But what's really interesting is the control and command, the you should, you must, you ought to, you always, and the hierarchies, and the chain of command and the order has stayed. What we have here is control and command mindset. What we have here is people who show up to work as an adult. When you come to work, do you want to do a good job? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, we have a job because we choose to. And when we show up, we'd like to show up as an adult and give the best that we can give. There's a paradigm shift. And what was happening there, some businesses are caught there, some are in the movement, some have got to here. Let's give you an example, Netflix. Okay, somewhere about here probably. Netflix travel policy, 5 pages, font size 8, legalese. Okay, just to travel for Netflix if you worked for them. Netflix's travel policy today, 1 sentence. Travel, act in the best interest of Netflix. That's it. They've made that shift across. They've saved millions on their travel budget. We've got lots of companies. Performance management was created around here. Okay, those conversations where I do all the talking. Here's your goal. Good luck. Check in next year. That used to happen here somewhere. Nowadays, we've got companies getting rid of it, but running continuous conversations. The accountability up here. People get a bit panicked when I talk about performance management leaving. No, the accountability goes up because the conditions in the workplace are changing. How do you know if you are in control and command? Here's how you know. Your language will sound like this. You should do it this way. You should do this, and you must do this, and you ought to do this. When somebody speaks to you like this, how do you feel?
Small.
Small, yeah, like a child. There's one of two things happens. Either they're going to break my finger and shove it where it belongs, or they're running. They're small and they feel like a child. Amy Cuddy talks about being powerless. When people feel powerless, they behave badly. So here's something that we did in our household. Okay, you'd heard me say it there, you should. So we taught our children, there's 3 of them, you saw them on the slide at the beginning, that it's rude to shit on people. This one has an interesting story because I have been out in public and said something, and all 3 kids, even the small one, Mom, it's rude to shit on me, don't shit on me. Okay. Why do we do that? Because the world that I grew up in and my husband grew up in, very, very different to the world that our children are growing up in. So when I shit on them, I'm coming from that DNA, that conversation that we've had for years. But the world is changing. And so now when I take that word out, I say, well, why would you do it that way? What makes you think that? And we have a conversation. The good news to the end of that story is the other day I said to my son, I'm going to have to shit on you here. And he said, okay. And then I gave him my wisdom of the day, and he said, Mom, that's a good shit. I'm going to keep that one. There we go. All right, so if we're in control and command mindset, think micromanagers. You know what I'm talking about. You're going to end up with Muppets and puppets working for you. If you're here and allow people to show up as themselves and give you what they're capable of, and you are going to have to talk to them to find that out, the performance culture rises. It's not a free-for-all, it's not a party, but it's a really, really great place to work. And finally, we got to talk about cake one more time. I like cake. Okay. And you take a leaf out of Henry Stewart's, owns a company in England. The name of the company is scary. It's called Happy. Okay, where do you work? I work at Happy. That's where they work. But he often runs this, and I love this as a piece. Let's try it now. For a moment, just think for me, when was the last time that you did your best work? Okay, when do you do your best work? When are you on fire? You're dealing with that difficult conversation, and it's a great conversation. You put together the promotional package, and it was brilliant. And you just stand a little bit taller. Think about that for a moment, just to yourself. Just think about when you do your best work. All right, now turn to somebody, doesn't matter who, and tell them how you feel when you do your best work. Just turn to the person next to you. How do you feel? You do great work. How do you feel? All right, so how do we feel when we do our best work, when we get to do the real work, as people tell me it is, when we get to do the stuff that we're great at? How do you feel? Yes? Energized is one for you. How do we feel?
Like that's where I belong.
Okay, so that feeling of belonging, that's huge. That's belonging, that's fitting in. Brené Brown version there. Yes, okay, great. You have one, there's a virtual one for you. Huh? Valued? I'm going to chuck this at you, okay? There you go. And you don't have a real one. There's a real one. There you go. Trade you. Okay. And what else do we have? Yes? Okay, I feel like I've made a difference. You ready? There you go. And? Powerful. Oh, there's another virtual one for you. Anybody feel happy? Yeah? Excellent. There's a Superman cape for you somewhere too. Yes? And? How else do we feel? Happy, yes, there we go. And proud, somebody said down here, yes. And one more. How do we feel? Feel like I could do anything. Okay, leaders, whether you are leader of people, leader as a parent, or leader of yourself, if that's how people feel when they do their best work, what is your number one job? give them opportunities, and recognize them. Yes, there's a thing coming for you. Oh, I nearly got that in the cup. Okay. What is your number one job? Help people to feel happy, energized, good, proud, whatever those pieces are, because when they feel that way, they get to do their best work. And that's when the performance of your team will shoot up as well. So as promised, leadership today was brought to you by the letter C and the number 3. There it is, all on one piece.